I would like to express my appreciation for your interest in one of the most important issues in the Arab world and in the Muslim world as well as in Lebanon, because this issue that pertains to the Palestinian problem and the Palestinian refugees who were forced to leave their country 60 years ago. And since 60 years, the problem is still there with no real solution. And the Palestinians during this period have been suffering a great deal, again because of the lack of finding proper solutions to their problem, and particularly that this problem was really created under the nose of the international community, who really accepted this forced deportation of the Palestinians from their home country. During these 60 years, definitely, Lebanon received quite a disproportionate number of Palestinians who came and stayed in Lebanon. And during these 60 years, definitely, there has been a lot of events and incidents that really made this relationship between the Lebanese and the Palestinians not always at the level that it should be. And as you know, this has resulted in the Palestinians, because of the lack of finding solutions, that they really resorted to other means other than peaceful means of finding a solution for their problem, which they had to really to armed resistance. And this definitely has created within Lebanon a great deal of repercussions. And ultimately this has led to some, let's say, contradiction between the Lebanese authority, who has to really prevail as an authority, as the central authority all over Lebanon, with the presence of armed groups in the country. And for so many other factors, that this led to a certain civil strife in Lebanon, which really the Palestinian problem, besides so many other domestic issues, they got intermingled together and really created a period of instability in the country, which really ultimately led to the invasion of Israel in 1982. And before that, Israel invaded in 1978. Actually, during the past 30 years, Lebanon suffered 7 consecutive invasions from Israel. The last was in the year 2006. In fact, in the year 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon with the hope that it can really put an end to the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, because it resorted to violence, to force. It ultimately did not achieve its objective of putting an end to the PLO. To the contrary, this has resulted with a new set of problems in Lebanon and to the igniting of as well resistance in Lebanon and armed resistance from the Lebanese against the Israeli occupation, which in fact led ultimately to the withdrawal of Israel in the year 2000. But Israel in the year 2000 did not withdraw from all the occupied territories. It remained that there are certain parts of the Lebanese territory is still occupied by Israel, namely the part of the Rajal village, which is a complete violation of the United Nations and Security Council resolutions, and the continued occupation of the Shab'a farms, which is still being occupied by Israel. During this time, definitely things continued, that the problem of the Palestinian refugees continued as is. To the contrary, things were really deteriorating, the living conditions within the camps, and the level of confidence between the Lebanese and the Palestinians were not at the proper level that it should be. And this, again, contributed to further suffering and further dissatisfaction among the Palestinians. Mind you, since about 1967, that all the Palestinian camps were not under the authority of the central government, i.e. the Lebanese government and its forces were not allowed to get into the Palestinian camps. This level of deteriorating confidence was really something that everybody suffered from, the Lebanese on the one hand, as well as the Palestinians on the other. And there has been continued attempts to mingle so many things together, and many of the domestic issues as well as the regional issues find its ultimate presence within Lebanon, and Lebanon became more or less such as a theater or a battlefield through which many of the groups who were really present or being represented were confronting with the other. But ultimately, Lebanon was really paying a price for this. I'd like in here tell you that since the situation was really getting worse and worse, with lots of intervention, and the level of satisfaction was really deteriorating among the Palestinians. The government that was formed in Lebanon in the year 2005 has put among its objectives is to see how to really improve the level of confidence among the Palestinians and among the Lebanese. Mind you that in the year 1989, there has been an agreement that put an end to the internal strifes in Lebanon, which really was brought by the accord that was made among the Lebanese, which is called the Taif Accord. And the Taif Accord is very important in really arriving at, let's say, an agreement among the various Lebanese components of the Lebanese society. Among the important factors is something that really enjoys 100% acceptance and commitment to it, is not to accept the naturalization of the Palestinians in Lebanon. This is something that really enjoys the full commitment of all the various components of the Lebanese society. And this, in fact, is something that really makes everybody within Lebanon, being, let's say, a society, a pluralistic society that is composed of so many confessional groups, and in which they have already agreed upon a certain very fine equilibrium among each other. So that's why it's very important to agree among themselves on something of this sort, which is not to accept the naturalization of Palestinians in Lebanon. And that is still very valid, and this enjoys the commitment of everybody in Lebanon. Although from time to time that principle comes into internal and domestic Lebanese politics, and some people try to use it as a scarecrow in order to take advantage from it. Although this is not acceptable by all the Lebanese and by all, let's say, the sister countries of Lebanon and the friends of Lebanon who really want Lebanon to be stable. I'd like to really say in here, based on this, that since the advent of the government that I formed in the year 2005, we've put on the list of our top priorities to see how we can really improve the level of confidence between the Lebanese and the Palestinians. And there were lots of grievances. And these grievances have been accumulating. I would like to confess in here, since the years of 1948 until 1967, there were lots of grievances that were really made to the Palestinians in Lebanon. And since 1967 until the year 2005, these grievances continued, but it added to it some additional grievances that were inflicted on the Lebanese by many of the Palestinian groups. So this has been accumulating. And hence, serious effort had to be made in order to resolve these accumulating issues. And that's why one of the first decisions that we have taken in that government is to form this committee, the LDPC, which was assigned the duty of really looking into the various points of grievances and try to deal with them. And the objective is to establish a certain level of confidence between the Lebanese and the Palestinians. All of us, we all are committed that no naturalization for the Palestinians in Lebanon, and it is the right of the Palestinians to go back to their home country. And until then, it is their right to live decently, and that to have the central government in Lebanon to be in control and to prevail all over Lebanon, starting with not accepting the presence of armed personnel or arms outside the Palestinian camps. We have about 13 camps. And ultimately, to put the matter that has to do with the arms within the camps under proper control. And in the light of this commitment, we started trying to resolve bit by bit every single matter in order to improve the living conditions and the health conditions and so many and economic conditions over there that were in fact contributing to a great deal of high degree of dissatisfaction and in many times humiliation that was not acceptable. And to offer the Palestinians the ability to earn a living within and outside the camps, and not to really be in a situation where they have to really earn a living in a way that is not really helpful to them or helpful to the stability of Lebanon. Definitely, that was our objective. We made certain strides, but we were operating under extremely difficult and stringent conditions. Because since then and before that, you see, Lebanon was subject to a series of terrorist attacks that were striking in various places and really resulting with quite a large number of casualties, destruction, and increasing number of lack of confidence as well. Again, one has to keep in mind that the Palestinian camps were still outside the authority of the Lebanese government. In fact, what we have already established as a government and was really given that mandate to the LDPDC in order to carry it out, it was adopted later on by the National Dialogue Commission that was established in March of 2006, and that commission carried its operations until the end of June of 2006. By that time, things were brewing in one way or another, leading ultimately to the invasion that was really done by the Israelis on the 12th of July, using as an excuse the abducting of 2 soldiers across the blue line, and they really carried on a destructive attack and invasion against Lebanon that resulted with a large number of casualties and with a great deal of destruction all over Lebanon, all over Lebanon. I'm mentioning this in order to tell you the environment in which we were operating under that really made it impossible for our government then to achieve more along the lines that we have set for ourselves in order to improve the level of confidence and to really carry on something that was really necessary to be done. I'm mentioning this without really underestimating always that we have to keep in mind that we have been dealing with the results of the crime. And the crime was made in 1948. And this crime, I repeat, was done under the nose of the international community. And we had to really deal with it without really having the tools for dealing with such a problem, the proper tools for dealing with such a problem. That took us from the 12th of July until the 14th of September, i.e. during that period, 1 month or 33 days of day and night destruction and aerial raids and battles on the ground, and about 27 days of embargo on our airports and our coastal ports. After that, you can imagine, we had to deal with the repercussions of such a major offensive that was made by the Israelis. While we were dealing with that, things were really, again, becoming more cloudy domestically, as well as the continuation of terrorist attacks, leading ultimately until the 20th of May, when we had to deal with the terrorist attack that was really made by a group of terrorists on one of the important Palestinian camps, which is the Nahr al-Barid camp. And this was the result of a group of terrorists who really came into Lebanon illegally, not through the legal points of entry, and they took control of the Palestinian camps, and on the 20th of May they attacked one of the positions of the Lebanese army, and they slaughtered 27 Lebanese army personnel at night while they were in their beds. And that really took us by surprise, and we had to deal with it. First of all, we had to meet with all the Palestinian groups and to really make things proper, that this is not a war between the Lebanese and the Palestinians. And one has to really condemn what really happened. And that's what really we achieved on the 21st of May, from all the Palestinian groups who really expressed their complete condemnation of what really happened. And then we gave all these terrorist groups the alternative of either surrendering, in which they will be entitled for a fair treatment and a real fair trial under the Lebanese law, which they refused. And they continued attacking the Lebanese army. And for 15 weeks, they continued doing so. During that period, we asked all the civilians to leave. And in fact, we assured the Palestinians that their departure is temporary and their return is assured. And our commitment to have the camp to be rebuilt back again. Because had we not really responded properly to this attack, it would have resulted in the creation of so many areas under the full control of terrorist groups, not only in that camp, but throughout the northern part of Lebanon, and God knows whether it may have already expanded into other parts of the country. So that's what we really committed ourselves to. And this, in fact, was enjoying the full commitment of most, or the greatest majority of the Lebanese at then. And it took us 15 weeks, but we had to really pay a very dear price. More than 180 of our brave soldiers and officers lost their lives so that we can keep Lebanon united and keep Lebanon as a country that is very careful about its independence and its sovereignty, its liberal policies, and its democracy. So that's what we really achieved at the very end. Since then, and after the surrender of that group, we have been working very hard in order to get back the Palestinians into the camp and to rebuild that camp to be under the full authority of the Lebanese sovereignty and the Lebanese armed forces, while respecting at the same time all the rights and the human rights of the Palestinians. And there has been a great deal of work that has to be done. Mind you, the 33,000 Palestinians that were residing in that camp, we had to take care of them throughout that period. And this really put additional pain and loads on the shoulders of the Lebanese government and the Lebanese economy and the Lebanese population. But that was quite important in order to really protect the brotherhood that brings together the Palestinians and the Lebanese on the one hand, and the level of confidence that we were very careful to keep between the Lebanese and the Palestinians. Now we are working hard in order to put this commitment into the existence. And that's why we have gone to the meeting that was held in Vienna. In that conference, we managed to raise a certain sum of money, which is practically around some 40 or 38% of what we really require. In the meantime, we are still exerting our efforts in order to raise the necessary remaining funds. Meanwhile, we are preparing everything that really makes us ready to start this important program of rebuilding this camp. Simultaneously, the LDPDC is continuing its efforts in order really to move along several tracks. First of all, maintaining excellent relations with all the Palestinian groups, and particularly the PLO and the Palestinian Authority, and at the same time preparing for the necessary infrastructure works that has to be done to rebuild the camp, and at the same time attending to so many of the issues that has to be really addressed in order to maintain the work leading towards improvement of the living conditions, economic, social, human health conditions in the camps, not only in the Nahwi al-Barid camp, but as well in other parts of the country. I'm mentioning this to you to tell that we are addressing these issues, but no one can really expect a country that has been really subject to a great deal of problems since over 3 decades to deal with the issue of the Palestinians alone. This is something that requires, first of all, the continued commitment of the international community and all our friends around the world, as well as the Arab community. Lebanon, because of the Palestinian problem, has been really paying a very dear price for such a situation. And Lebanon is actually the only place in which one can say that the situation is not stable as far as the conditions, because every now and then you can really see that Israel is still violating our borders, and they are really again violating our airspace. And during the war of 2006, they not only made all this destruction, but they left us with about 1 million